Hi guys, and welcome to another iTryDIY. Today I'm going to be making a pillow out of an old t-shirt. Originally, I got this idea from Sarah Darlene, another YouTuber and also my friend. A long time ago, I got this idea because she did a video where she made a pillow out of like a Rocky Horror Picture Show t-shirt that she found at a thrift store. And I've made pillows before. I actually used to sell them in my shop. So I didn't use a specific tutorial for this, but I'm going to take a page out of Sarah Darlene's book and be inspired by what she did and go ahead and do it myself with my own knowledge of how to make pillows. Now the t-shirt I'm going to be using is this t-shirt here. Now see, we're very cynical in my house and we don't like people, so we want to make sure that when we have guests over they know how welcome they are. See, I can only please one person each day. Today is not your day. Tomorrow doesn't look good either. So we're going to go ahead and make a pillow out of this very fashionable t-shirt. I have a white crayon, scissors, a ruler, some pins, and of course a needle and thread. You'll also need something to stuff the pillow with, and personally what I use, since polyester fiber blend is expensive in craft stores and stuff, I just bought a cheap pillow from Walmart for less than $3 and I'm just going to cut it open and use the stuffing from that. If you don't know about making pillows and you feel a little bit intimidated, don't worry, it's actually really easy. So I'm going to show you how to do this, and I've never done this from a t-shirt before, so this is a learning experience for me as well. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to measure. Generally you want to make it about an inch bigger than you actually want your pillow to be because that's your stitching room. I'm going to make a smaller pillow. I'm going to make like a rectangular pillow. I'm going to do 16 inches, I think. So I'm going to start over here and this is about the most difficult thing. It's making like a weird little dotted line, but I'm going to make a line. Okay, so I'm going to do the same at the top. It's actually better to use a piece of chalk to draw the line because it actually will glide smoothly and not leave like a weird little perforated dotted line. But I don't have chalk. All I have is the much ignored white Crayola crayon, and we are making some use out of it today. So he feels special. He feels loved. We're just gonna connect it over here, and it looks like it's gonna be about 8 inches. And make sure it's the same on the side. Now that I have drawn my lines, I'm going to cut this out. Fabric scissors works best for this, but unfortunately I can't find my fabric scissors, so I have to use these clunky things. But make sure you don't cut the back. So these scissors are a pain in my ass, so hopefully yours are better than mine. Since this is going to take about 1.5 years to cut this square out with these dumb scissors, I'll spare you the agony. We're just gonna go right to the next part after I've cut this out. Hi again! We have cut out the main part of our pillow now. This is gonna be a really small pillow, and I'm fine with that because that means it'll take a lot less time to sew. So instead of going to the back of the shirt, since I have a particularly larger shirt, you know, I'm doing a smaller thing, I'm going to use the bottom part for the back of the pillow. Now, obviously, if you're making a big square pillow out of the whole shirt, you're going to need to use the back flap for the back of the pillow. Back flap, that's a funny word. So what I'm going to do is, since I'm using the bottom half of the shirt, I'm just going to go ahead and turn this around. Since the top part is already cut, I'm just going to like line this up a little bit. And then I'm going to use some pins. So I'm going to pin through both layers, not the back of the shirt, but just the part that I cut out and the part that it's resting on. Just gonna pin through the corners and the middle right here at the top, and lay it as flat as possible, and pin through the corner and the middle and the other corner. So now basically the reason that I did that is so that I can use this shape as a template for the back piece, so I can just cut around this now. Or I can go ahead and take my crayon and use my ruler as a guide, and always let your ruler be your guide, and draw a cut line. Please enjoy this musical interlude while I take forever to do this. Okay, I've now traced all the way around And now I'm going to take my pins out so that I am free to cut out the second square, which will also take another 15 years. So the next time you see me, I will have gray hair because it takes so long to use these fakakta scissors. We will reconvene when I have cut out this square. Okay, I have now cut out the second piece to my pillow. The t-shirt as we know it is but a distant memory. How to make a pillow, this is just kind of a basic thing here, is the parts that you want facing outward, you put them on the inside to sew it. Since this is the part that's facing out, I'm going to put it on the inside, face down like this, on top of the other piece. And I'm going to line it up as well as I possibly can. Here's where you're going to need your pins again. Now what you want to do is you want to go around the perimeter and put your pins in. So I'm going to put them at it's about a ½ inch away from the edge. A lot of people, when they make pillows, they do about 1 inch because I guess it makes it sturdier. But since this is a smaller pillow and it's just for me, I'm gonna do a shallower stitch. More boring stuff, me sticking pins along the perimeter of the fabric, which I'm not going to make you watch. Alright, I have pinned all the way around my soon-to-be pillow. Now, when we sew this, we're going to leave a gap about this big, maybe like 3 inches, 2.5 inches to stuff it with, and then we sew that part after we flip it inside out and stuff it and everything. So since this is going to be the bottom of the pillow, I'm just going to go ahead and take that out right now to remind myself to not stitch over this part right here. See, now I don't have a sewing machine, so I have to sew this by hand, which kind of sucks. If you have a sewing machine and know how to use it, by all means do that, because that would be a lot quicker and a lot less of a pain in the ass. Got my thread and my needle. The way I'm going to sew this pillow is I'm actually going to start right next to the little open part. And I'm going to do what's called a back stitch. I'm going to turn this around so that you can see a little bit better. A back stitch is when you bring the needle up through the back, which I've done, and then you take it forward in front of it a little bit, maybe like 1/4 inch. And then you pull it through. Now the reason it's called a back stitch is because instead of picking up where the stitch left off, I'm actually going to go in front of it the same distance. I don't know how well you can see that since it's black thread, but you go in front of it at least the same distance, pull it through again, and then you go back to meet where the other one left off. So I'm going to do that the whole way around, and that's going to create the most secure seam. Okay, I have now stitched all the way around this would-be pillow except for that one little spot which I left open. And what I've done with the needle is I'm going to put it through here because the thread is still attached to it. Just going to thread it through this little spot right here just so it stays in place. Now I'm going to turn this hopeful pillow right side in because I reach through the hole there and I just basically pull it, turning it right side in. Okay, so I've now turned this right side in, so it's pretty much almost a pillow with our lovely sentiment on the front. So I have my cheap little pillow here, which I'm going to cut open to obtain the stuffing to stuff this from pillow to pillow. Recycling, making the world go round. So I'm just kind of grabbing chunks of stuffing and just going to tear them up into smaller pieces because it's just easier to stuff that way, and then you have less of a chance of like ripping your stitching or stretching it or whatever. So I always stuff up into the corners first. Alright, so I'm just going to stuff up into this corner, and then I'm going to take this piece and stuff it up into the opposing corner like that. Basically, just repeat doing that. I always start with the corners because they're the hardest to stuff, and then you don't have to reach past all the other stuffing to get to the corners. This pillow shouldn't need much stuffing anyway. Okay, this should be probably pretty close. I'm pretty well done stuffing this pillow now. So I've got this gap now at the bottom, and that's what I'm going to stitch shut. Now I'm just going to reach in here and find my needle, which is right here. It's up to you how you want to close this. Most people are just going to go back and forth like along the top, but I do what's sort of called a hidden stitch, which is basically, I fold both the sides in like this and sort of fold them over a little bit so that there's an overhang and they meet in the middle with the edges pointing to the inside, if that makes any sense. And then I take my needle, and instead of sewing outwards on the top part, I sew inwards on the flaps that are facing downward inside. So since my thread is already still on the inside from my stitch, I'm going to come up here and do a stitch like that. So basically I just threaded it through like that. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side on the inside flap, and I'm not going to penetrate the outside part of the fabric on the outside part of the pillow. I'm just going to do it on the inside flap and then pull it. And basically I'm just going to keep doing that throughout the entire length of the open seam, and that will give the impression of the hidden stitch, so you won't be able to see the thread until you tie it off at the very end. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that and finish off my pillow. Alright, I have finished stitching the open part, and I have this little bit of thread left over. So clip it right up against the needle there, because it's about as much room as I'm gonna need. And to tie it shut, basically what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna hold my finger under here and bring this around and just sort of tie it off and pull it like that. And I'm holding this in place with my other two fingers. That way it tends to make a knot in the same place every time. And if it doesn't, it will collect and make like a big ball, make a big enough knot that it won't pull through the stitch and it will stay secure. And it's better if you go down and you sort of wrap the knot through the tie every single time. I've done that, and now there's a knot right there at the edge of this seam. So I'm just going to cut right there. And now my pillow is complete. So I have now successfully made a pillow out of an old t-shirt. So I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial / iTryDIY video, and if you guys have any suggestions for any other projects you would like me to try, just post a comment below, post a link to the Pinterest or YouTube video or whatever internet DIY site. Or if you just have sort of an idea of what you want, just let me know, and I could use a lot of ideas because I really like to craft and I like to do the DIY videos, and I like to try them for the first time on video for you guys. It's sort of a tutorial for you guys, as well as we can see how well they ended up working out. So now that you know how to make your very own pillows from t-shirts, guys, find me on Instagram and Facebook. Send me your pictures of ones that you make for yourself. I think that would be really cool. And be sure to check out my other DIY video of the Gothic Rose that I did last time. I will post a link to that video in the description as well. And I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching, and I love you all, despite what the pillow says. Bye! Without it pissing me off so much, I just want to not do it at all, and I'll be like, fine, just remain in a little cut piece of fabric that's not made into a pillow and it's no longer a t-shirt. You have no purpose, haha! Edit this out. Edit this out. Don't say that. Take that out. Ladies and gentlemen, the great Houdini! And just like that, Houdini has transformed into a Watson. Hallelujah. I pinned it to the back accidentally. Oh god. There we go. Again with the crappy scissors. Jeez. I just looked over right when you're putting the little piece of burrito in your mouth and you're just like that one little spot, which I left open, and I just stabbed myself with the needle. It's a cynical pillow, so a cynical pillow, I don't know, would be lumpy. That doesn't make any sense. I don't know why I said that. Oh my effing lord.